Once upon a time. The room was quiet, save for the slow hum of the nightlight and the ticking of a cartoon alarm clock. Moonlight poured through sheer curtains, casting soft stripes across the bed. A little girl named Lila lay curled beneath a fuzzy pink blanket, her face still damp from crying. Her first day at the new school had been rough. No one sat with her at lunch. No one asked her name. She tried not to show it, tried to be brave for Mom. But under the blanket, alone in the dark, the truth slipped out in little sobs. Her toys heard it all. They always did. Across the shelves and bedsheets, plush fur twitched. Painted eyes glimmered. The room, for a moment, seemed to hold its breath. Then, like the soft rustle of fabric in a dream, a small stuffed rabbit named Bun Bun sat up and stretched. He blinked once, then twice, adjusting to the moonlight. His ears flopped gently as he looked around. The clock had just struck midnight. From the window ledge, Stella the ballerina doll swayed lightly in the breeze. Over on the bookshelf, Rexy the wooden dinosaur gave a creaky little shake. None of them had moved in years, not like this. But tonight was different. Tonight, Lila had whispered, "I wish I had someone to talk to." And toys never ignore a wish. Bun Bun gave his stitched limbs a careful stretch, the seams of his right arm creaking faintly like old floorboards. He was the oldest of them. His once white fur now a soft gray, with a tiny blue patch on his belly from the time Lila spilled paint in preschool. But his button eyes were sharp, and his purpose tonight was clear. He hopped down from the pillow in a single silent motion, landing with a muffled poof on the mattress. The room was a landscape of shadows and sleeping breath, but Bun Bun navigated it like a general on familiar terrain. He tiptoed across the bedspread, past the sleeping form of Lila, her cheeks blotchy and nose still pink. Her hand rested near her chin, half clutching a crumpled tissue. Bun Bun paused there. He reached out gently and touched her fingertips, just for a moment. Then he turned, ears perked, and scanned the room. They'd need the others. Tonight was too big for one toy. He padded to the edge of the bed, swung himself down using the hem of the comforter, and landed with a soft grunt on the carpet below. The bedroom, vast from toy eye view, was still. The night light hummed in the corner like a lullaby. The shadows leaned long and quiet. Bun Bun cupped his felt paws to his mouth. "Time to wake up," he whispered. One by one, painted eyes blinked open in the dark. Tonight their child had cried. And Bun Bun would not let her wake alone. From her perch on the window ledge, Stella stirred. The ballerina doll had once been the jewel of a music box, but her string had long since snapped and her partner, some stiff little prince, was lost in a garage sale years ago. Still, she carried herself with grace. Even with only one shoe, she leapt from the ledge as though landing on stage. Her porcelain face caught the moonlight as she pirouetted midair, then landed on a pillow with practiced silence. "Bun Bun," she whispered, brushing her yarn hair from her painted cheek. "Is it time?" He nodded, already checking the floor for obstacles. She cried again tonight. Stella's lips pressed into a line. Her cracked ankle bent slightly as she descended the pillow slope, hopping delicately from patch to patch of blanket until she reached the bed's edge. She never complained, never fussed about the missing slipper, though she limped more with every year. What mattered was the rhythm, the balance. What mattered was Lila. When Stella reached the carpet, she offered a curtsy to Bun Bun, who saluted back. "I heard the whisper," she said softly. "She asked for someone to talk to." "She didn't ask us directly," Bun Bun murmured. "She didn't have to." For a second neither spoke. Then a low wooden thump broke the silence. From the bookshelf, something large and blocky moved, and promptly knocked over a small rubber duck in the process. Stella winced. "He's awake," Bun Bun sighed. "Brace yourself." And with a second louder thunk, Rexy made his grand and very ungraceful descent into the night. Rexy was not made for stealth. He was a chunky wooden dinosaur with wheels for feet and a tail that always found something to knock over. His green paint was chipped at the corners, and one eye was missing half its giving him a permanently surprised expression. He didn't care. He lived for drama. "Did someone say emotional emergency?" he bellowed. "Well," whispered loudly, as he rolled into view, nearly flattening a Lego knight in his path. Bun Bun darted forward, holding up both paws. "Lower your voice." Lila's mom checks in if she hears a noise. Rexy screeched to a halt, his wheels making the faintest rubbery skid against the carpet. "Right. Hurry. I'm still in playtime roar mode." Stella pinched the bridge of her tiny painted nose. "You haven't been roared in over a year. Doesn't mean I've lost my edge." He attempted a sleek pivot and instead bumped into the nightstand with a clunk. The books wobbled. All three toys froze. From the bed, Lila stirred and sniffled in her sleep. The tissue fluttered near her face. They waited. Stillness. Quiet exhale. Rexy mouthed phew. Bun Bun motioned them into a huddle. "She cried hard tonight. Said she had no one to talk to. We're going to fix that." Stella nodded, one hand on her heart. "We must." Rexy raised a short wooden claw. "Do we need supplies?" Bun Bun's ears twitched. "More than that. We need a plan. And a map," Rexy added. "Maps are cool." "No time for maps," Bun Bun said. "Tonight we move with heart." And with that, the trio made their way toward the center of the room, beneath the dangling moonlight, to decide just how to comfort the girl who thought she was alone. The quilt was soft and uneven beneath their feet, like a terrain of mountains and valleys stitched from Bedtime. Bun Bun led the way, hopping from fold to fold, while Stella followed close behind, her one shoe tapping softly. Rexy brought up the rear, slower but determined, occasionally getting stuck in the fabric and requiring a pull from Bun Bun. They reached the center, a sun-faded patch shaped like a star right over Lila's knees. This was the spot. Their council ground. Their thinking place. Bun Bun turned to face them, his expression unusually serious for a rabbit with a crooked smile stitched into his face. "She's lonely," he said. "She needed us tonight. So we're going to do something about it." Stella crossed her arms delicately. "We can't talk to her." "Not really." "No," said Bun Bun. "But we can show her." Rexy tilted his head. "With what?" "Interpretive dance." Stella looked oddly tempted. "A message," Bun Bun said, pacing now. "Something simple, heartfelt, just to let her know we're here. Always have been." "A note," Stella whispered. "A secret bedtime note." "Yes," Bun Bun said, warming to the idea. "Something she finds in the morning, tucked under her pillow. With glitter," Rexy offered hopefully. "No glitter," Bun Bun and Stella said in unison. They paused, listening to Lila's breathing. "She's not sleeping well," Stella murmured. "She keeps twitching." "We fix that too," Bun Bun said. "We build her a safe place. Tiny fortress. Just for tonight." "A fortress of what?" Rexy asked, excited. "Blankets. Print. Whatever we can find." He looked at each of them in turn. "This isn't playtime anymore," he said softly. "Tonight we're her friends. Her family." Rexy nodded solemnly. "Then let's get building." The council was adjourned. The night had just begun. They didn't speak for a moment after that. Not because they didn't know what to do, but because they all remembered. The first night. Years ago, when Lila was still a wobbly toddler with more juice on her shirt than in her cup, she had clutched Bun Bun with both hands and cried herself to sleep. A thunderstorm had rattled the windows. She hadn't known the house yet, or the shadows it made, or how the rain whispered secrets to the walls. That night, the toys had stirred too. Bun Bun had nestled beside her, Stella had lain just out of reach with her arms open, and Rexy had, well, fallen off the shelf dramatically as usual. Lila had giggled through her tears. Just once, but it had been enough. Since then, the years had rolled by. Her tears grew rarer, her hands steadier, her voice more confident, and slowly the toys began to still. They watched her grow, loved her in silence, stayed close without needing to move. But tonight felt like that first night again. She's gone quiet, Stella said now, glancing at the bed. Not peaceful quiet, Bun Bun replied. Sad quiet. Rexy shifted uneasily. It's like she's shrinking again. Back into herself. They turned to look at her together. Lila, small in her big girl bed, clutching a pillow, brow furrowed even in sleep. She gave us everything, Stella whispered. Tea parties, dances, adventures. Even when we started to fade. We don't fade, Rexy grunted. We wait. Bun Bun nodded. His button eyes locked on Lila's curled form. Tonight we give it all back. He puffed out his chest, not easy for a squishy rabbit, and added, let's build her a fortress of love, stitched together from everything we've ever known. And with that, the toys marched toward their first task. The idea of a fortress had started as a metaphor, but as the toys moved through the moonlit room, it became very literal. Bun Bun led the charge, dragging one of Lila's smaller plush blankets across the floor like a knight pulling a banner. This will be the base, he puffed. Soft, cozy, and smell-tested. Stella was already at work, folding washcloths from the laundry basket into makeshift turrets. She didn't ask what the turrets were for. All forts needed them. She added a toy tea saucer on top. For elegance, she murmured. Meanwhile, Rexy was engineering a drawbridge out of craft sticks and a shoelace, grumbling the whole time. You know what we need, he said. A lookout tower. Somewhere she can dream safely from. She's asleep, Stella said flatly. All the more reason, Rexy huffed. The crayon box sat on the far side of the room. It would be the next mission, essential for the note they'd planned. But for now, their construction project took priority. Together, the toys pushed and pulled and stacked. An old storybook became the back wall. A bent headband became a rainbow-shaped archway. Lila's favorite socks were balled up into soft guard posts. It's not exactly architecturally sound, Stella admitted. It doesn't have to be, said Bun Bun, standing back. It just has to feel like love. At the center of it all, they left a space. A perfect square just big enough for a note. That's where we'll place it, Bun Bun said, patting it gently. Something simple. Something honest. Rexy looked toward the crayon drawer like a general surveying distant hills. Time to fetch the colors of our courage, he said. Stella blinked. That's not a thing. It is now. The crayon drawer sat high above them, built into Lila's art desk, a realm they hadn't dared venture in months. Not since the great finger paint incident of late spring, which left Bun Bun's left ear faintly purple and Stella with a splatter she still swore was intentional. But tonight the mission was clear. I'll go, Bun Bun said, already calculating the climb. Stella offered a low bow. Be swift. Rexy thumped his tail dramatically. And beware the hamster. Bun Bun's ears twitched. But the hamster. Biscuit, to be precise. Lila's well-meaning but unpredictable furball who lived in a clear rolling ball and occasionally went on moonlit joyrides. He crossed the floor quickly, sticking to the rug shadows. The desk loomed ahead like a wooden mountain. The drawer, half open, was their treasure chest. At the desk leg, Bun Bun paused. He wrapped one paw around the fringe of a nearby scarf Lila had dropped earlier and tugged. Slipped free. Perfect. He threw one end over a knob and used it as a rope. Up he climbed, paw over paw, ears flopping, determined not to look down. Halfway up he heard it, a faint click. 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 The hamster ball. From the hallway. Biscuits out. Stella hissed from below. Bun Bun froze. The clicking grew louder, wobblier, unpredictable. He reached the top just as the hamster entered the room, rolling like a tiny chaos comet. Bun Bun leapt into the drawer and pulled a marker cap over his head to hide. Below, Biscuit paused, nose twitching. Then, distracted by a hair tie, he zoomed off in the other direction. Bun Bun poked his head out. He looked around. Crayons, scattered and broken. Some chewed, but enough. He He grabbed the stubbiest, brightest colors he could find and tossed them one by one over the edge. Stella caught them with a pillow. Rexy missed and took a blue crayon to the nose. Back on the floor, Bun Bun rejoined the others beside the pillow, where the crayon pile now resembled the aftermath of an art explosion. Reds without wrappers, green nubs, half-melted yellows, each one a small, waxy survivor of 1,000 scribbled masterpieces. Rexy said, inspecting one squished end. This one smells like sandwich. Peanut butter, Bun Bun confirmed. Probably from April. Stella picked up a pink shard with 2 fingers like it was a bug. We were going to write with these. It's what we've got, Bun Bun said, brushing crayon dust from his fur. We'll make it work. He crouched beside the pile and began sorting. We need legible colors. Dark ones, but not scary dark. We want this to feel like a hug, not a homework assignment. Purple, Stella suggested, selecting one she had once seen Lila use to draw a sun. Purple feels like hope. Blue too, Rexy said. Not sad blue. Blanket blue. They nodded, silently acknowledging the difference. But as Bun Bun pulled out a promising red-orange, he winced. Bent, then broke. The inside was soft, melted and gummy. Not just one either. Nearly all of them were warped. The drawer had sat under the sunbeam for weeks. Stella looked horrified. They've fused. They've all become one. Rexy stared down solemnly at the multicolored lump. It's the crayon Massachusetts. Bun Bun shook his head. We can't write with that. Silence fell for a moment. Then Stella whispered, What about paper? Bun Bun perked up. Yes, we'll find some. Cut it into a heart. And use the parts of crayons that still work. I saw her old notebook under the bed, Stella added. The one with the missing cover. Perfect, Bun Bun said. We improvise. Like theater, Stella smiled. Like science, Rexy countered. Like family, Bun Bun finished. The next quest had begun. The underbed zone was, to put it lightly, a wasteland. Dust bunnies loomed like ancient tumbleweeds. A single sock, long presumed lost, clung to the bed leg like a survivor of some domestic apocalypse. There were stickers, wrappers, and a pencil sharpener with no lid. It smelled faintly of crayons, bubblegum, and childhood. Stella went first, squeezing herself gracefully between the bed frame and floor with all the elegance of someone half her size. Bun Bun followed, ears flattened to avoid the slats. Rexy remained behind, not out of fear, but because his wheels did not do well in carpet crevices. I'll hold the line, he called dramatically. Yell if you encounter monsters. We'll try not to disturb the empire of socks, Stella whispered back. It didn't take long. Buried beside a plush unicorn with a chewed ear, they found it. Lila's old spiral notebook. The front cover was gone. The first few pages were covered in stars and castles. But the middle blank. Clean enough. Beautiful in its own forgotten way. This will do, Bun Bun murmured, tearing gently at the binding with his teeth. Stella helped fold one page, then another. With her tiny ballerina hands, she began to snip it into the shape of a heart. It wasn't perfectly symmetrical. One lobe was slightly bigger than the other, but it felt right. Felt real. It's lovely, Bun Bun said. It's hers, Stella replied. They brought it back into the open room like it was a sacred artifact. Rexy gasped. Is that parchment? It's notebook paper, Stella said. Parchment, Rexy insisted. They laid it in the center of the fortress, just over the soft patch stitched from Lila's baby blanket. The heart-shaped paper fluttered slightly in the fan's breeze, waiting. Now all it needed was words. And wooden claws were ready. Rexy stared down at the paper heart as if it were a dinosaur egg about to hatch. Right, he said, squaring his short frame. Leave the calligraphy to me. Stella raised a skeptical brow. You can barely hold a crayon. True, Rexy admitted. But I have vision. Bun Bun gently nudged a purple crayon toward him. Use the tip, not the side. And don't press too hard. this paper's old. Rexy grasped the crayon between two wooden claws like a surgeon holding a scalpel. We doing cursive? No, Bun Bun and Stella said at once. Block letters, Bun Bun said. Simple. Big enough for her sleepy eyes. Rexy began with the W. It was enormous, lopsided, and slightly tilted like it had been written during a small earthquake. Charming, Stella whispered, though she turned away slightly, as if watching caused her physical pain. We're, Rexy muttered, tongue sticking out in concentration. Always. They looked like a pyramid. The L resembled a flagpole. Still, one by one, the words took shape across the page in a mixture of color and uneven pressure. Here, he grunted. He paused. Bun Bun looked up. What's wrong? I don't know how to spell never. Is it with two verses? Stella sighed. It's with a V and an E. I knew that, Rexy grumbled. Slowly, lovingly, with the patience only a toy dinosaur could manage at midnight. He finished the sentence. We're always here. You're never alone. Stella stared at it. It's perfect. Bun Bun nodded. It's exactly what she needs. Rexy dropped the crayon, now flat on one side. My finest work. You spelled everything right, Stella said, genuinely impressed. I'm an artist, he replied. Now it was ready. The note, the message, the whisper they couldn't say out loud. It was time to deliver it to her dreams. With the note complete, the toys faced a new problem. How to get it to Lila's pillow without waking her. Bun Bun inspected the paper heart like a museum curator. It's delicate. No folding, no creasing. We need something to hold it together while we move. Glue? Stella asked. Rexy brightened. Glue. Yes. She had glitter glue. No glitter, Bun Bun snapped. We've discussed this. I meant metaphorical glitter, Rexy mumbled. Stella tapped her chin, scanning the room. The tea set. They turned in unison toward the corner where Lila's toy tea party lived. A small plastic tray, two mismatched cups, one cracked saucer, and yes, an old jar of pretend honey still sticky on the rim. Bun Bun led the way, cautious. The lid was partially open, crusted with dried amber goo. He dipped a paw in gently, just enough. We don't want to stain the message, he muttered. Stella offered ribbon scraps from a doll's old dress. Bun Bun dabbed the honey lightly across the back of the paper heart and pressed the ribbons down. Held. Barely. We can carry it like a flag, he said, testing the balance. Rexy offered his tail as a base. She deserves a ceremony. Bun Bun tied the ribbon ends to the crayon box lid, turning it into a makeshift platform. She'll never see us deliver it, Stella said softly. She doesn't have to, Bun Bun replied. She'll feel it. Together they lifted the heart. Bun Bun took the front, Rexy steadied the rear, and Stella guided with light fingertips. Step by slow step, they began the journey across the quilt-covered floor. Each footfall was silent, each breath measured. The fortress behind them stood proud, built not from plastic or fluff, but from something deeper, something small humans can't quite name but feel in their bones. Something called love. The march to the pillow was the longest journey any of them had made in years. They crossed the carpet planes first, threaded with lint, lost hair ties, and a rogue sticker shaped like a narwhal. The crayon box platform wobbled slightly with every step, but the heart stayed in place, swaying gently like a sail in windless air. Rexy's wheels clicked quietly. Stella adjusted the ribbons every few feet, ensuring no twist, no crumple. Bun Bun kept his eyes fixed ahead, on the great looming rise of the bed. It looked taller than usual tonight, like a mountain guarding a sleeping princess. Careful here, Bun Bun said, pointing to the area by the foot of the bed. It's steep. I say we go through the valley, Rexy offered, indicating a blanket edge hanging off the side. Agreed, Stella nodded. We can use the hem as a ramp. Together, they nudged the crayon box onto the fringe of the comforter, then pushed, lifted, and climbed. The incline was tough. The fabric bunched and tugged under their feet, threatening to tip the whole platform sideways. Twice Rexy almost slipped. Once the note fluttered dangerously, catching a stray breeze from the oscillating fan. But they never let go. Halfway up, Bun Bun paused to steady the platform and glance behind. Lila's face was turned toward them now. Eyes closed, lips slightly parted, one arm hugging the space where Bun Bun had once slept. "We're almost there," he whispered. Finally they reached the mattress. Stella was the first to hop onto the bedsheet, extending her arms like a ballet teacher welcoming students to the stage. Rexy gave one last heave from below, and Bun Bun pulled the platform over the edge. The pillow loomed above them, fluffy, white, warm with Lila's dreams. It was time. The delivery would begin now. The pillow was soft as a cloud and smelled faintly of bubblegum shampoo and sleep. Lila's head rested gently on one side, cheek pressed into the fabric, her breath steady but uneven, as if her dreams hadn't quite settled yet. Her fingers twitched now and then, brushing the blanket like she was searching for something in the dark. Bun Bun motioned for silence. Stella climbed up first, walking tiptoe along the hem of the pillowcase. Her one shoe made a soft pat with each step. In her hands, she held the heart note, now detached from its ribbon and glowing faintly in the moonlight. "She's still frowning," Stella whispered. Bun Bun joined her, pulling himself up beside Lila's shoulder, ears brushing the cotton threads. He stood a moment just looking at her. This girl who had once fed him invisible soup and bandaged his ear with a band-aid for emotional bruises. "She won't remember this," Stella said. "She won't have to," Bun Bun replied. "She'll feel it." Carefully, he lifted Lila's pillow with both paws. Just a little, just enough. Stella slid the heart underneath, between cotton and dreams. It nestled in place perfectly, as if the space had been waiting for it. "Message delivered," Stella whispered. Rexy peeked over the blanket's edge. Did she flinch? Did she smile? I paused. Lila's fingers curled inward gently. Her frown softened. Her breath slowed. And then, like a sunbeam slipping through curtains, a tiny smile crept across her face. She hugged the pillow tighter. Bun Bun's heart might have burst if it were real. "Mission complete," he whispered. The toys froze, instinct taking over. A step. Familiar. Getting closer. "Hide," Bun Bun hissed. "Now," because the door handle was turning and someone was coming in. The door creaked open with a kind of slow, ominous groan that would terrify a lesser toy. But Bun Bun had faced teething, tea spills, and 3 separate washing machine incidents. He barely flinched. Still, this was not a drill. "Positions," he hissed. Stella launched herself into a pirouette and collapsed beside the tea set, legs artfully posed like she'd simply fallen over during play. Rexy dove behind a throw pillow and froze, mouth open in a classic toy expression of, "Oops, just a decoration." Bun Bun did the hardest thing of all. He lay down beside Lila, went limp, and made his stitched smile look innocent. The door opened fully. A beam of hallway light sliced across the room. Mom stood in the doorway, wearing her robe, hair mussed from sleep. She looked around with that bleary parental scan: bed, blanket, child, shadows. Nothing weird. She stepped inside. Bun Bun didn't move a stitch. His button eyes stared upward at the ceiling, empty of life. Lila didn't stir. But her hand had shifted, just barely, now resting under the pillow, right where the paper heart was tucked. Mom crossed the room, adjusted the blanket gently over Lila's shoulder, and brushed a lock of hair from her face. "She's so brave," she whispered, more to herself than to anyone. She turned back toward the door, then paused. Her eyes flicked to the tea set. To Stella, sprawled like a fallen ballerina. To Rexy's tail, sticking just a little too far out from behind the pillow. Her brow furrowed. And shrugged. She turned off the nightlight, clicked the door nearly shut, and padded back down the hallway. The toys didn't move. Not yet. Only after the soft creak of the floorboards faded did Bun Bun finally let out a breathless, "We need better hiding spots." The room was plunged into deep, velvety darkness. Only the moonlight now remained, silvering the edges of the furniture and casting long, gentle shadows across the quilt. The toys stayed frozen, still half holding their breath, as if the walls themselves might have eyes. Bun Bun was the first to twitch. He rolled slowly to his side, waiting for any distant creak from the hallway. None came. "She's gone," he whispered. From behind the pillow, Rexy's snout emerged. "That was way too close. I was about one breath away from sneezing." "You don't have lungs," Stella hissed. "Still counts," Rexy said. "Emotional sneezing." They regrouped at the foot of the bed, moving with exaggerated care. None of them wanted to risk waking Lila, not after everything. The nightlight's glow had faded, but the moonlight painted her face just enough. She looked peaceful now, softer, her brow uncreased, her lips barely parted in a dreamlike sigh. "She's calmer," Bun Bun whispered. Stella knelt at the side of the pillow and leaned close, almost nose to nose with her. "She's safe." Rexy stared up at her like a statue looking at the stars. "She looks older. Just a little." Bun Bun sat down, ears drooping from the weight of the night. "We almost didn't make it in time." "But we did," Stella said gently, placing her tiny hand on his paw. The room around them was still. The fortress remained intact, soft and lumpy but proud, guarding the center of the floor. The paper heart was tucked beneath the pillow like a secret promise. And the toys, though unmoving, glowed in the silence. Not with light, not with magic, but with something quieter, steadier, loyalty, memory, love. They didn't need to move again tonight. They had done what they came to do. Time moved differently now. The clock ticked on the wall, but none of the toys watched it. They stayed in place, not out of fear but because stillness felt right. The kind of stillness that isn't empty but full. Full of warmth, full of memory. Full of the quiet magic only found in a child's room at 3:17 a.m. Lila shifted slightly in her sleep, her hand moving under the pillow again, fingers grazing the edge of the heart-shaped note. Her lips curled, not into a full smile, but into something close, something halfway between a dream and a thank you. Bun Bun sat near her elbow now, upright but frozen, staring at the place where her breath lifted the blanket every few seconds. He didn't blink. None of them did. But if someone had turned the light on, they might have seen something shimmering behind his button eyes. Across the room, the fortress stood strong. The turrets built from socks hadn't toppled. The drawbridge still held its shape. The note may have been out of sight now, but its message lingered in the air like a lullaby. Stella perched beside the tea tray, posed mid-curtsy. She looked as she always had, graceful, delicate, forgotten. And yet, tonight, she had danced for something more than make-believe. Rexy leaned against a stack of picture books, head resting on one wheel. Still in his over-the-top pose, but softer now, like he'd roared a little less loudly this time and let something else take its place. Care. They didn't speak. Couldn't. But if you listened closely, just closely enough, you might have heard a kind of hum. Not from voices or wind, but from the room itself. From toys who had stayed, who had tried, who had remembered. And from the deep, quiet joy of being needed again. Lila slid from bed with the paper heart still in hand, her feet padding softly across the carpet. The early sun glinted through her window, casting a golden haze on the floor, painting her path in warmth. She didn't rush. She didn't call for Mom. She didn't even look confused. She just held the note to her chest and moved with quiet purpose. The toys didn't move either, but something had shifted in them too. Bun Bun remained in his spot by the pillow, slightly slumped from all the activity. His ear flopped forward as if he'd fallen asleep sitting up. Stella was still beside the tea tray, posed in perfect stillness with her one-shoed leg extended. Rexy was mid-roll near the book pile, the crayon he'd used now resting just beside his front wheel. They weren't where they had started last night, and Lila noticed. She glanced around the room longer this time. Her gaze lingered on the makeshift fortress. The sock turrets, crayons, The ribbon-sticky crayon box. A faint trail of ribbon still lay draped across the floor like confetti from a parade. She tilted her head, puzzled, but not skeptical, because deep down she already believed. She tucked the note into her pajama pocket and knelt down in front of Bun Bun. One hand reached out to straighten his ear, another to give him a soft little pat. "Looks like you were busy last night," she whispered. And then, because she could, she gave him a kiss on the top of his faded head. Outside the window, a bird chirped. Inside, a girl stood a little taller. She had something now. Something better than a best friend. She had the quiet, steady knowledge that even when no one seemed to be listening, she was never really alone. Lila spent the morning with an extra softness to her steps, as if she didn't want to disturb whatever magic had happened in the night. She ate breakfast without complaint, even remembered to brush her hair before school. Mom noticed, of course, and raised an eyebrow when Lila hugged her twice before heading out the door. Back upstairs, the room returned to stillness. The blanket lay ruffled, the pillow indented. The paper heart, carefully folded and tucked into a notebook, remained in her backpack, just above her lunchbox. And the toys. They rested. Not the empty kind of rest, but the satisfied kind. The kind that comes when you know you've done what you were meant to do. Bun Bun leaned gently against the headboard, his patched belly soft and proud. Stella reclined beside the tea set, her posture regal even in repose. Rexy had rolled himself back near the bookshelf, one claw lazily touching the blue crayon as if to say, "Yes, I did this. And I'd do it again." No one moved. No one needed to, because something had changed, not just in Lila but in them. They'd remembered that their job wasn't just to sit on shelves or be posed in tea parties. It was to be there, when it mattered, when no one else was. When the lights were off and the room was quiet and a little girl whispered her wishes into the dark. That's when toys come to life. Not to play, to protect, and maybe, just maybe, to remind someone very small and very brave that they are loved, always, even when the world feels big, even when the tears fall, even when they think no one's listening. Toys always are, always. So now the room is quiet again, filled with the hush that only morning light brings. The fortress has been carefully dismantled by soft toddler hands, folded into memory like a dream you almost remember. Outside, the world moves faster than it should. Cars hum, bells ring, people talk too loud and too fast. But here in this tiny bedroom, time stretches. Long, slow, until Bun Bun rests with one ear flopped over his eye, just as he always has. He doesn't need to move again tonight, or tomorrow, or next week. His job for now is done. But he'll be there when she needs him, when the tears come back, when the shadows stretch, when the world feels like it's just a little too much. And you're safe too. Maybe you've forgotten how magical the quiet can be. Maybe you've tucked away old toys, old memories, old notes under pillows and pages. But that doesn't mean they're gone. The ones who've watched over you, the ones who stayed through the quiet hours, through the soft heartaches, through the deep, wordless nights, they're still here. Maybe not with button eyes. Maybe not with ribbons or wheels or one missing shoe. But you'll know. You'll feel it. So close your eyes now. Let the weight fall off your shoulders. And remember, you're always seen. You're always loved. You're never alone. Good night.